Good morning, everybody. In this forecast video, I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of hunting for something that is showing something different, right? For many of us across the country, the pattern has been very stagnant for a while, and I'm just trying to see if some of these model hints that keep showing up have any sort of real meteorological solution to them. So here we go. The animation we're watching here is just the GOES 19 satellite data from yesterday until last night, and then early this morning. At the very end of it, we can see, of course, here's Imelda, which well offshore after bringing some much needed rain on the outer edges of Imelda into the Carolinas. It's now here. Umberto was about to just fast track it over to the to the eastern side of the Atlantic, getting toward Great Britain. In the middle part of the country, we actually have some storms going this morning. In fact, take a look at this. Let's flip it over to the Mosaic radar and just play this. We had this large front that came in early this week, dropping temperatures in the west. We can see some scattered rain here, and then we do see this north-south running boundary that we're getting some precipitation on. And I've got some big questions about the rainfall in the midsection of the country going forward. But early this morning, there's actually quite a bit of lightning in these storms right into this area. Now, if you notice, of course, there's a boundary here. There's a frontal boundary here. And this has been something that's largely been absent from the midsection of the country for a while, like big sweeping cold fronts, which we expect in late September and October. And we're going to go looking for one to see if any of the models have any sort of credence to their forecasts. I'll do that in just a few seconds. But I wanted to show you one thing. I know that Imelda and Umberto stayed out to open ocean, but they are creating quite a bit of problems in the Atlantic Ocean. And this is a forecast of significant wave height. So when you get into these colors, we're talking about wave height that is 16 to 18 feet. And in some places, it's much higher than that, just given the ocean dynamics here. But look at this. This is a forecast of the wave height. And you probably saw some of the videos on the coastal parts of North Carolina with houses getting ripped down. But as this goes forward into this week, this is Thursday into Friday, look at the waves getting stretched out ahead of and along what's left of Umberto heading toward Great Britain. And this is going to be a pretty potent system that gets here, ripping up the ocean, of course, and then also creating, I think, a pretty significant wind event across Great Britain. Now, as I play it forward, I'm just going to keep going this, here's what's left of Imelda. Again, very, very choppy Atlantic forecast right now. As I play it out, I was just this morning looking around for anything. I'm like, oh, look, another storm system's getting spun up by the European model here. Where's it going to go? And it's kind of the same old scenario. Are you watching this guy right down here? Watch, I'll take you back just a step, and let's go forward. And what is it doing? Same thing, there's just this problem in the pattern where there's high pressure here, and each one of these systems just kind of curls around it. That's our displaced Bermuda high. Are you tired of hearing me saying that? Because I'm tired of hearing myself talk about it. But we're going to keep an eye on it nonetheless. Now, come back to the States. Again, let's just get a good look at the wind field here. There's a few big important things I want to be talking about. We've seen the tropical systems. We know where our Bermuda high is. We know that this tropical system here has been moving to the south, which is a bit odd for me, honestly. Usually anything that brews in this part of the Gulf goes north, but this particular one is being steered south. And a lot of my attention over the next, I think, couple of weeks is going to be on anything that comes out here versus the Atlantic, and maybe doing something a bit like this. Matt brought it up a bit yesterday. I'm going to dig deeper into that here in just a few moments. But just notice how still the winds were right into this area, coming off the Appalachian Mountains into the northeast. Very, very still winds overnight. And the temperatures bottomed out. And we have freeze and frost advisories and warnings in parts of the northeast just as the temperatures bottomed out. And if you take a look over the next 7 days, this is where we have our frost risk. And there's something going on here that we need to talk about. Because what have we seen in forecast after forecast? Just long duration, mild conditions with this potential break in the pattern 5, 6, 7 days from now, right? We've been thinking about something changing in the first or maybe second week of October, changing up these temperatures. And we're going to go out looking for that. So I went back to the same location I showed you on Monday. I'm in Minneapolis. In fact, let me just show you again. Take a look at the difference. Still 18.4 degrees warmer than normal for the next 7 days. But take a look at what the temperatures are doing. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them of the next 7 are very, very warm, right? But we start to notice the models are doing this. And when is it? It's the end of this week. It's getting into Monday morning. We then settle back into what would be more normal temperatures. And some of the forecast models, like look, the GFS and the AIFS, are even dropping us down into frost territory, not by this Sunday, but by next Sunday in Minneapolis. Just example city using the forecast tools that we've got. Now we know where we've been. I've been showing you this like every video. This is how warm things have been since the 9th or 10th of September. Everywhere that you see a number 1 means that the last 20 days of September was the warmest last 20 days of September on record. And our records go back to 1893. So this is all of Iowa, excuse me, except I guess this corner right down here. But that southern row of counties in Minnesota, most of Wisconsin, the Dakotas, back into Montana, extremely, extremely warm. And this extends all the way into the Northwest, which, don't forget, had a brutally hot finish to summer as well. So we're looking for something to disrupt and change this pattern. And you're going to get a sense of it here in just a few moments. Today, though, high of 83, Minneapolis, 87 on Thursday, 87 in Grand Forks. While the southeast is cooler, the west coast with those big fronts coming through, cooler. We then get out here to Friday, 90. Boy, that's the hot one. But watch, getting into the weekend, Saturday, another hot one. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, that's when the front comes through, knocking the temperatures back, 25 to 30 degrees on the high temperatures alone. Now, as we saw this transition, we're just curious how robust of a solution it is. So I went hunting around in the models just to kind of see how many of them are delivering a decent cold front. So this is the GFS forecast from this morning, because you saw a moment ago, the European is not as aggressive on the maintenance of the cooler air as the AI model or the GFS is, right? The European bounces things back up. Again, if you're wondering what I'm talking about, I'm saying this. See how the European just kind of revives the temperatures here back up into the, the 70s versus the AI and the GFS keeping them a bit cooler. So I'm going to show you the GFS just as the cooler solution. We've already seen these high temperatures. This is Friday into Saturday and Sunday. There comes our first front. I'll show you the rainfall on that front. That's Sunday afternoon and evening. So there's the knockback in temperatures for Monday for the northern plains, upper Midwest, while the front just stretches right here. Yes, we'll look at the precip along this in a second. But then we get past this, and I'm looking for this. Now, and when I make my color bars, I put a hard contour around freezing. So this is next Wednesday at 1 a.m., and this is at 7 a.m. And there we go. Look at the cooler weather settling the upper Midwest into Ontario. That's a cold front swiping through. Now, we want to know the duration of that cooler air because it definitely slides into the Northeast by October 9th, according to this model, right, which is the GFS. Then there's a warm-up, and then look at the cold air coming in here. And, yep, we got snow with this. We'll show you that in just a few seconds. But as this goes forward, there's another pretty potent cold front out there by October the 11th. And that one, in the forecast models is quite significant, driving the cooler all the way down to the Mid-South into the southern plains with overnight lows in the model, in the 40s in the southern plains, which is, we've not seen that in a long time. So are the models sniffing out something significant? And Matt alluded to this yesterday, and I was a bit skeptical about it on Monday. But now we've got 3 days of evidence that something is going on here that we need to give, some attention to. So what is it? Well, for the last 20 days of the month, we've just had deep troughs anchoring here, which means we're going to have to disrupt this first. You're saying, why do you always go here first? Well, this is the upstream part to the pattern for North America. So often I look for clues there first. Now, there are clues elsewhere around the world, of course. Matt mentioned the Siberian snow cover. We'll show you that in just a few seconds, too, or what's going on across the North Atlantic. And I'll be honest, I look a whole lot more at the North Atlantic during the heart of winter than I do during the rest of the year. But this is it. That is what's been driving the pattern. Troughs here, big ridges there. And yes, there has been that Bering Sea effect, so the reflection of the pattern, here in the southeast as well. But take a look at it. Next 15 days from the AI model, you're like, well, wait a minute, that doesn't look too much different. But it is. That is a feature moving in. And that has washed out how strong of a ridge that has been anchored in this part of North America. It's washing out how strong that's been. And so what we're going to keep an eye out on is the shift in temperatures, because the AI model for the next 5 days, yep, there it is. There's your extremely hot temperatures. But when you go out day 5 through 10, there is the sequence of cold fronts that are coming through while Alaska warms up significantly. And here's the new day 10 through 15, which Matt showed yesterday, and I'm confirming that the model yet again today has got this solution. Now, many of you are going to be welcoming this. This is going to be a very nice transition over toward cooler fall weather. But just remember, mid-October, cool temperatures in through here that are 5 to 10 degrees cooler than average. That's actually going to feel very, very cold during this time. And my daughter is in the high school band, and I love it. I am a band dad geek, and I can't get over it. It's so much fun. My son plays soccer, and we've got tournaments and band competitions every weekend in October. And we've been sweating at every one of them so far, and now we're going to go into it. I'm probably going to bust out my winter coat for some of this, if this is true. Now, I do want to show you another possible scenario, and we'll get to that in just a few seconds. But this is what the models are doing. They're replacing the deep troughs that are here with ridging in the Gulf of Alaska. See it? The pattern is breaking down. So when those ridges form, even if you do get that omega look, it helps drive colder air into this region. So here we are by Sunday. That's our first big front coming through. And if that rebuilds, which it does, see here, we're going to now start to toss more troughs in. And this particular one has my interest, and here's the reason why. Leading up to it in the GFS model, do you see this? Some models are hinting that, not this week, but next week, tropical systems coming out of the East Pacific could interact with cutoff lows over California and send moisture and momentum to join up with this trough to race right across the midsection of the country, and that would be a rain signal as well. Now, I want to be clear. This is happening in some of the operational models, but the ensembles are not yet bid into this. But the farther out I play it, your story is written right there, and the reflection of that is happening here. Now, what model's not doing it? It's the European. This is the European ensemble next 5 days. All right, good agreement, all the models. What about day 5 through 10? Where's that cold air? I mean, the European washes that signal out. And notice, this is day 10 through 15 when the GFS, and especially the AI model, are dropping cold air in here. It's not showing up in the ensemble. So you're saying, well, what does this mean? It means there's still uncertainty in this happening. And there's a sequence of events mainly happening in the Gulf of Alaska that have to spark this to get it going. And Matt was looking yesterday at some other factors like polar vortex and these changes in the lobes of the colder air across the northern hemisphere. And we're wondering if the European is just the outlier in this particular situation. At least I'm wondering that. So what else could be going on here? Well, remember, Matt mentioned, watch for the snow. Now, our maps are about to get a huge update in the month of October, and we're going to add lots and lots and lots more stuff for you to see. But if you just notice, as I play this forward, there are quite a few events putting down more snow in Siberia, parts of Russia. And that snowfall is going to be critical to watch, as it can often set up as a reservoir of colder air, which disrupts the jet stream that circumnavigates the northern hemisphere. But as I was playing this morning, again, using the GFS model, I started to notice a couple other things, like right here. You know, we go on and on about the potential, of tropical systems in the West Pacific, like these guys, recurving and disrupting the North Pacific jet as well. And some of that seems to be happening the farther we get into the month of October. Now, by the way, if I go back to the beginning, there is the risk of another tropical system hitting Guangdong province, which is here. They got hit twice last month. And there's another one going toward that area, which means more flooding. But I'm curious if any of these are going to start to round their way up into the Pacific jet stream and be more disruptive for the second half of October. So I guess here's the story. We know we have a front coming through next week, right? But is it a part of a broader shift toward more typical fall weather to just knock this out? That is the narrative we're going to try to assess and understand as we go forward. Okay, so back to the tropics. As we look right now, we've got Imelda and Umberto. We talked about them. We've got a couple of systems here in the East Pacific, but I'm telling you, this part of the East Pacific could become much more important. Not now, but soon. And then we're going to keep an eye on anything developing over in the West Pacific, as the potential for these systems to disrupt the flow here is possible, especially as we get into the month of October, which is the most common month that happens. So let's just look at the tropics very quickly here, and I want to start off in the Atlantic. Now, we know that Umberto is going to set itself up, look at this thing, to just plow into Great Britain. And that's what's left over from Imelda. I've been watching to see where the Bermuda high goes, and I notice it's still way over here, and there is a reflective high, and still sitting here, that is going to open up some moisture this weekend to a frontal boundary. I'll show you the moisture in a second. But I'm just looking for more tropical development. And the farther out I go, everything, I mean, look, where did the next couple go? We talked about this earlier, but they're staying out to open ocean. And Matt and I keep sniffing every day. Is anything going to come out of the Bay of Campeche or the Gulf or the Caribbean? And no, I just don't see it yet in the models. But I did notice something that caught my attention. What are these lows doing over here? Like that one. So we need to go have a different look. And this is an animation of the European ensemble playing the low pressure centers for the next 10 days. And that is an interesting setup. See how this next tropical system hasn't even formed yet, but could start to push its low pressure, bringing in moisture through the Baja, turning it into the southwest. And I want to know where that's going to go. Because for the last 3 days, I've been just kind of in the background monitoring this. I don't want to present it because it could be wildly wrong, but I'm just very curious if this scenario is going to play out. So let's play through Friday into Saturday, mostly a west coast end of the week. Got fronts coming through here, better chances of rain. But this is now Saturday morning, Saturday midday, getting into Sunday. Now, early on Sunday, the best chances of rain begin to show up here as the first front works its way through. We also see the coastal showers showing up down here and storms because of this tropical cluster of thunderstorms down here as well. We could be very wet along the east coast of Florida too. But watch the midsection of the country getting into Monday as the front sags. Now we notice already rain falling through here. It kind of hops, skips, and jumps over Illinois, Missouri, and parts of Kansas and Oklahoma, Texas. The Northeast stays drier. This is out of 1 week. So that is your 1 week forecast from the European model. But as we play it forward, that has caught my attention. Now watch. We are already out here 198 hours in the forecast, so we have to be careful. But we've now seen 3 or 4 model runs that are doing this. Are you watching what I'm watching right here? And I'm curious how robust of a solution that is. Because somewhere out there, day 8, 9, 10, and 11, it is trying to bring rain into one of our driest spots in the country. And I care about this because it's really dusty here. And harvest is going. And we're looking for when that harvest window is going to close. So can I show it to you again? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now ready? Thursday next week, Friday next week, Saturday next week, Sunday next week. That's what we're talking about. Now, again, the question is how robust is this? So I'm going to pick out one really wet spot. We're going to go right here in Nebraska. I'm going to go to Auburn, Nebraska. That's the town I picked. So if you're curious where that is, I dropped the pin right there. So there's the storms this morning. And take a look at the forecast range in Precip, 0.18 in some models to 2.45 in others. And I'm going to go show you where the differences are coming from. So the European model this weekend is the first round of rainfall. Then remember, it's the next weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that it's trying to bring in that tropical pulse. So that is your wettest model. Does the GFS agree? It has some of that precipitation at the end of this weekend and start of next week, but it doesn't have the rainfall coming in Friday and Saturday, the next Friday and Saturday. The AI model, again, Sunday, Monday, it's got something on Tuesday, but not showing up, and the blend is like nothing, just not showing much rainfall at all. So that's the 0.18 on the solution. That's why we built this tool this way, so you can compare and stack up models. And I'm going to tell you something. If you looked at this and you saw a bunch of bars here in the GFS and there in the GFS, and the AI did it too, then you start to build major confidence in these two events. So the reason why I was so reluctant to mention it is because it's really only been a European model solution that's been giving you that. But is it showing up in the ensemble? Well, here's the chance, as I play this forward, of getting an inch. Ready? This is through today, getting into tomorrow, all the way to Saturday, sorry. So if you're looking for rainfall chances through the weekend, that's what you've got. It's primarily here. That's the wettest corridor if you're across the United States, and also down here just off the Gulf Coast and off of the southeast coast. Now, we know that that's the weekend rain chances, and it's not overly high in this area. So the chance of getting an inch by next Wednesday is pretty limited. Now, what about that second round? Now we're out 10 days. There's where it starts to build back up again. So there's something in the, in the ensemble that I think is worth talking about. But we also have to just mention that like I told you at the beginning, I'm hunting for something. And sometimes when when you're a hammer, everything's a nail. So I'm looking for, I don't know. But let's go back and take a look at the drier side of this. Should have got a new model running. Yeah. 10-day chance of staying under a ½ inch. So just understand, I was looking right there. All around this, we're looking at relatively dry conditions, including the Canadian Prairie, Texas, big section of the eastern United States. So this is a hope that there's going to be something different coming through this region. But it's showing up in the ensembles for week 2. Take a look. This is the European, the AI, and the GFS. See it? So we'll watch. We'll just keep going and try to figure out if this is for real. There's 2 other things I want to mention. With the fronts coming through, the winds are going to pick up. By Saturday and Sunday, we're looking at wind gusts that could be, over 40 miles an hour here. And playing at Fort Hey, look, next Wednesday, see this? That's that tropical system. And look, even in the GFS, it's making the turn into the Baja. But we've got some more windy conditions coming through here in the midsection of the country, getting up to Ontario and Quebec, Great Lakes, and throughout the Intermountain West as we go forward over the next 10 days. So please be prepared for that. I understand there's quite a bit of risk about weaker stands that still need to be harvested. Sometimes these stronger winds can be extremely disruptive. All right, one last thing I mentioned, I was going to tell you about the snow. With all the cooler weather coming into the west, take a look at this. There is snow coming into the Rockies. That is by next Wednesday. And there's another push of colder air following it. So we could put up some early good snows in the northern Rockies as we go forward. All right, anything new in the long range? Well, we've got the updates from the Climate Prediction Center. They do this at the end of every month. Let's blow it up and have a look. This is their 1-month outlook. And there's no surprises in what they released yesterday, except in this. We just made a case that by mid-October we could drop these temps. Now, this is very wise if you're looking at the first week of October. But after that, I think we could mix this up a little bit and drop some colder air in here. This forecast of being drier, this is a product of the lost Bermuda high. But as you saw, there's chances of drawing in moisture into this direction based off of tropical systems and just a shift of where the frontal boundaries will be as the possibility of colder air comes in. Now, I'm not throwing any shade on the Climate Prediction Center. Predicting October is impossible. It's a transition month. And so it's rare that the whole month looks the same. So we'll monitor it with them and keep an eye on it. But it's clear that they're not the only ones thinking about that dry stretch, because the ECMWF once again came up with the same solution on where it's expected to be driest. And we've talked extensively about this. So that leaves us with just a couple of other things to think about here. One, is there any change in the MJO? Well, I see it trying to slide over to phase 4-5 and then resetting into phase 2. The only thing I can tell you about that is it does mean that we're going to open up the tropics later in October to more activity, just because the lid is not going to go back on the tropical Atlantic or the East Pacific. And it'll be important to watch what this does to South America as well. If you notice right now, the next 2 weeks are drier. But we do think that as we get further into the month of October, that some of these models are right. Like week 2 is drier, but week 3 into week 4 brings up the rainfall in this region. And it's based on that forecast that I expect planting progress to stay at the top end of the 5-year distribution as we go forward in Mato Grosso. And this is just an analysis I put in my Monday report that goes out via email. So I wanted to show it to all of you. So I don't have much of a different forecast for South America. I just think there's a bit of change coming into North America that we need to think through. And I'm going to stop it there. Hope you all have a good rest of your day, and we'll just talk to you again tomorrow morning. Thanks.